Hey everyone, it's Christy with AG Takes Over. Glad you're here. I've got kind of a combo video today. So one, I'm going to be participating in a tag that Bailey over at American Girl Films posted or started about taking your dolls out in public. So there are 6 questions I'm going to be answering. She posted this recently as of the time of this filming, but if you have been hanging out with me for a while in this channel, you know I don't post things in order. I often film like a couple months in advance. So not sure when you're watching it, but I'm filming 3rd week of April and she just posted the tag. Then the other thing, because I didn't want to just sit here and talk, nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to do something. So I've got Sydney, whose hair is up in a real messy ballet bun. She's still dressed from a recent dressing the dolls in dance themed outfits video that I did. And I realized that our salon set came with this hairpiece that we've had for a couple of years and I've never opened it. I think it's all one piece and I have no idea what I'm going to do with it or how I'm going to style her hair. I don't know if I have enough clips around here, but I might pause and look for some or steal some from other dolls' hairstyles, and I'll just play around with her hair while I chat. So we'll see. All right, so the first question is, how often do you, okay, so sorry. All of these questions are about whether or not you take your dolls out in public and what that looks like for you. So in my case, as if you're not new here, you'll know that this is specifically referring to American Girl dolls. So the first question is, how often do you take your dolls with you in public? I would say, I mean, if we're not counting my neighborhood, because I do a lot of photography like right here in my neighborhood where I'm out in front of people or like, you know, posing the dolls on the sidewalk as my neighbors are driving by. I know my wife is less comfortable with that. The kids across the street, like one of them is like a preteen and always has preteens over, and you're like, middle school, you know, they were bullies when we were kids, so probably nothing has changed. So she's very reluctant to take pictures when everybody is out across the street. I would prefer not to, but also I don't care enough to let it stop me. So in that sense, we take them out on a regular basis. I take them out pretty regularly. I would say at least once a week out into the neighborhood, but also pretty often other places. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into question 2. All right, here's her hair down and brushed out. She's so pretty. Because it kind of ties into question number 1, and it's, do you take them out for a particular reason? And Bailey had mentioned as some examples, like as a travel buddy or for comfort, you know, to help manage anxiety, for photography. And I will say that 99.9999% of the time when I take my dolls out, it's for photography. Not in any way. All right, what's the Velcro for? Sorry. Does this go around a ponytail only? Like you put the comb in and then you have to do this with it? I don't know. I've never used this before. It seems like it's going to have to be in a ponytail, which is kind of annoying. We'll see. We'll see what I can do with it. Anyway, not to discount the value of taking your dolls out for other reasons. I know a lot of people take them, even if it's just a mini doll, they'll take them with them just as comfort, as a travel buddy, to help manage anxiety, any of those things. And I love that for people. It's generally not the reason that I take them out personally. I'm a pretty low anxiety person. I mean, sometimes that's just a result of compartmentalizing, but I'm pretty able to compartmentalize and not have intrusive thoughts. So yeah, photography by far for me is the main, almost exclusive reason that I take my dolls out in public. And I have a lot of fun doing so. I love it. And Bailey said, you know, I think it's important, not meaning that it's important that you take your dolls out, but important that if you want to, you feel comfortable. I don't care if you do it or not. But if you want to, and it's not something you feel comfortable doing yet, I do encourage you to keep taking inspiration and tips from other people and keep working on building up that courage, because I know that's harder for some people than it is for others. The next question, number 3, is favorite place you've taken a doll. And I loved Bailey's answer to this, but I could not pick an answer. So, hold on, dropped my notes. So instead, I made a list of where have I taken my dolls. And if I can read from here, now that I had to put it back on at a weird angle, I have taken them in no particular order to an apple orchard every fall. We go apple picking at the same orchard, and we want apples, and we want the experience, and we want pictures of our little one, and we want pictures of our dolls. So those are kind of our agenda for those events. I'm not liking this thing so far, by the way. It's very weird. It's very weird. Okay, I'm going to show you my first attempt because it's awful. Like, what even is this? I don't understand why there's the Velcro. Okay. I'll just keep working on it. I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, apple orchard, we get great pictures. By the way, I'll be putting pictures up probably over here because there's more room as I talk, just to show you some of the places. Dance classes at here locally, and I have taken pictures inside her dance studio. And that's definitely like, if you're ever a little bit worried, because it's easier for me to be like, I'm not worried about judgment from immediate family. I mean, even if they did judge, I think they would respect me enough to keep their mouths shut about it and just judge inside their heads. I'm not worried about judgment from strangers because you're absolute strangers and I don't care. But I think if there is some worry, it's more like the people who know me peripherally, because I feel like I'm going to have to see you and interact with you more, but we're also not close enough that you really know me. So you're not like emotionally invested in my emotional safety. So I would consider like the parents of the other dancers maybe in that category. And so it's a little bit like, I'm a little bit aware of you might be judging this, but also I just really believe that that can't be a limiting thing for me. It just can't. I don't want to live that way. So anyway, yeah, dance class. And we took the dolls to a local museum, to a Titanic exhibit. That was really fun. They were dressed in attire from that time period. And I did a video about it. I will try to remember to link it in the description. If I say that about any of these videos and I forget, you all are great about giving me a very loving, gentle reminder in the comments, and thank you for that. Sometimes I need that, and then I go back and add it to the description. So if I forgot, nudge me. I've taken a doll to the library just to get some different shots, our local library. I didn't feel any nerves about that. Like the libraries are the best. They are the best. We need to support them. The library workers are fantastic and they're so not judgmental. Like if you are nervous about taking your dolls out in public, might I suggest the library on a slow day? That might be a good, like warm, welcoming place to ease in. And not inside, but I took one of my dolls to a courthouse to get these pictures of Lindsay dressed as Ruth Bader Ginsburg in front of a courthouse. So just our local courthouse. I took her and got pictures in front of, but it's right in our downtown area. So very much public space, lots of passersby. It was fine. There's a beach nearby. We are landlocked. I live in Ohio, so beach is to be used loosely. It's a lake with some technically sand. And I have taken the dolls there multiple times for different photo shoots and highly recommend that. We've taken a doll to the zoo, to a couple of fan Harry Potter events, not anything that profits She Who Must Not Be Named, but we have taken a doll or two to a couple of like local fan supported events. Movie theaters. We took a doll dressed as a couple dolls as Barbie, like for the Barbie premiere. And also we took the Moana doll to the Moana premiere. I will say in both of those, my primary thing has been like take them along for this thing, just for the experience. But I was hoping for better pictures than I got. Oh, I didn't have one on here. We did a Christmas show. It was like the Polar Experience. We thought it was going to be way cooler than it was. Kind of a waste of money. But took a doll along. Again, it came to mind because theaters, I tend to like be hopeful that we're going to get these great pictures, and then they're just garbage pictures. And I'm like, well, I took the doll along. No big deal. American Girl stores, obviously, we have taken our dolls to the Nashville store, the Chicago store, and obviously the Columbus store because it used to be our go-to. Pride, I have not taken a doll to the larger Pride celebrations down in Columbus, but I live in a kind of a suburb about 30-40 minutes outside of Columbus, and I've taken a doll there. That was really fun. Some really good pictures, and she got to wear her little pride flower crown, so it was super cute. Parks, lots of parks. I couldn't even begin to list all the parks just because we live in a new build neighborhood, so there aren't mature trees, and we have parks nearby that have streams and playgrounds and just lots of different features that we're not going to find in our own backyard. So parks for sure. Restaurants, that has usually been because we were already like at some other event and we just took the doll. Like the very first time I met a few of my local doll friends in real life, we met up at the store and then we all had a doll with us, and then we went to a restaurant that was there in the same shopping center. So yeah, dolls have come with me to restaurants, but usually because we were already at some event. Universal Studios, I took a doll to Universal Studios. That was a lot of fun. I'm going to talk about like kind of limitations and things to keep in mind in a few minutes because those are separate questions. But right now I just wanted to list the places. On a road trip, I had to go when my older daughter was still in college, like go get her in DC at her internship. And so from Ohio through multiple states to get to DC. And that was really fun. I don't know, might pick that one as my favorite just because I got to stop at like all the road signs that say, welcome to whatever state, and take pictures of Julie at every one of them along the way. So that was fun. Renaissance Festival. We took a couple dolls this past year to Renaissance Festival. There's a pumpkin patch, like fall festival thing that we go to every year, and I took a doll for the first time this past year. The hospital, not for me as a patient, but I was going to recreate my younger daughter's NICU experience with dolls. And so I took 2 dolls into the hospital, even into like the entrance of the check-in area of the NICU, to take pictures to recreate that. And my wife and I went to American Girl live in concert, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and we took dolls there dressed as us. So yeah, I think that's all the ones that come to mind. And it's very hard to pick a favorite. Maybe the road trip, just because I got to take pictures of Julie in so many different states in like a short period of time, and it was kind of fun. And that was my mom and I driving there. So she hadn't really been with me like when I was taking dolls out in public before. So I think, it was like something different for her to experience. So yeah, maybe that one. I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. All right, so that was number 3. And the next 3, I promise, won't take quite as long. Before I start question 4, I wanted to show you. Okay, I wish this were covered a little bit more, but you can't really see the edge part. This side also has a little bit of the pink poking through. Not sure if I love that, but I can probably, hopefully, maybe cover it up. There we go. And I like this better. Here, maybe that's better. I did like the ponytail all gathered, and then I lifted the top chunk of the brown hair, stuck that thing in the middle, then put the top chunk back down, and then finished up the ponytail. I think it's cute. All right. So next questions. Number 4, do you have any considerations before taking them out? And things that Bailey mentioned were like, do you take off certain accessories if you're worried about them falling or getting lost? Or do you plan outfits based on how long they'll be on this, trip or whatever? Yes, I have considerations. So most of the examples that I gave you of times that we've taken our dolls with us have been like a day trip, even like a half day or whatever. But a trip to Chicago, a trip to Florida, a trip to DC, and a trip to Nashville were all multi-day things. So I was considering like, are we going to be staying in a hotel? Do I want pajama pictures? How many outfits? That kind of thing. So yeah, length of stay. Oh, Vermont. We also took them to I took one to Vermont. Um, and that was fun. Even inside a marijuana dispensary, I have the doll sitting like right in front of plants, like marijuana plants. But like hiking, lots of different things on that trip. Other considerations for me are, what is the weather like? Obviously, like if it's going to be rainy, I'm because photography is my thing, and I'm not going to like have the dolls just in a bag for comfort. I'm going to have them out being set up and taking pictures. I'm thinking about the weather. I'm also thinking, if do I want the doll with me all day? So when we went to Renaissance Festival, I had to consider like, do I want to carry this doll around all day? And in that case, I decided, yes, I'm willing to, because I didn't want to walk all the way from the parking lot to the entrance, take my pictures, walk all the way back, and then all the way back. And I didn't know like which kind of photo opportunities were going to pop up and present themselves until we were walking all the way around. So in that case, I had to think about like, am I willing to carry the doll around all day? In some other places, I know that I'm not. In other situations, I have like taken the doll, gotten the pictures, put the doll back in the car because I've decided I don't want to. Maybe it's because it's crowded. Maybe it's because photography is one reason that I'm going, but I also need hands free and be able to move around and do some other thing at the place where we're going. So I'm pretty strategic about that. And then if I've decided I don't want to take the doll with me all day, like have it at whatever the destination is, I have to think about what's the weather like, in terms of I don't want to leave a doll in a hot car for too long, and like the greenhouse effect. I know it's probably paranoia, but if you're a collector, maybe you can relate. I just don't want the doll to be like stuck in where it gets to 120 degrees inside my car because I leave the doll outside locked up in the car for a couple of hours in August. So I do think about that. I think about how crowded it's going to be. I also think about, because we sometimes take the dolls to places where the primary function is to be with my family and to enjoy time with them. So like when we go to the apple orchard, we drive up to where the trees are, I get the dolls out, take a couple pictures, put them back in, and then the rest of the time is just spent with us enjoying family, right? So those are some of my considerations, in addition to things that Bailey mentioned, like if there's an accessory on an outfit that I'm worried is going to fall off, or what shoes. Sometimes there are shoes that around the house, I don't mind using them, even though they fall off, like the Earth Day sandals will fall off really easily. But do I want to risk losing them at Universal Studios? I think not. So that would not be a pair of shoes I would choose. Number 5 is, has anyone ever commented on your dolls while you're out? Yes, but not as often as you would expect, especially given the amount of time, like the number of times that I have taken them out into public places. Mostly people just stare, like sometimes openly, sometimes subtly. Mostly people just like are gawkers and they don't say anything. I think at Pride, a couple people said nice things, like because she was wearing a Pride outfit. I think a couple people noticed and said nice things. And then back behind our home, and I've shared this story before, but I'll keep it quick. We like our house, and then our backyard, and then a fence, and then a little bit more green space, and then a big walking path that's paved, and then a street. It's not like a major highway, but for our town, it gets a lot of traffic. And I did a Pride Parade video, or Pride Parade. I will try to remember to link the video in the description. If I forget, nudge me, because it's awesome. And if you haven't seen it, you should. Anyway, I set up like, I don't know, close to 30 dolls. out on this walkway and created, like, there was a float and all kinds of stuff, and like twirlers, flag twirlers. There was so much going on, and I was bringing out all these dolls, and somebody was driving by and they slowed down, and I was like bracing myself for somebody might say something rude because it was clearly like pride stuff. And it was this woman, and she rolls down her window and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing a pride thing for them? Do you mind if I take a picture? That is so cool." So my experiences with people who actually say something, it has been kind stuff. So maybe people are getting the message sometimes of, if you don't have something nice to say, STFU. I don't know. But my experience has been people have either said nothing and I can kind of feel their judgment and I don't care, or if they speak up, they've said kind things. So yeah, so far so good. Last question is, any tips for taking dolls out? And Bailey said, for example, like hair tips or favorite carrying method, etc. I always take a brush. We take elastics and glue dots. Like, those are my 3 big things that I always take with me. If I know that I'm going for a specific thing and it needs props, then I'll take props. But I take the elastic and the glue dots even if I don't have any other props, because you never know what you're going to find that you end up wanting to include. Like, you might find some really cool, like you're out on a trail and you find some really cool leaf, and it would be cool if you could just put a glue dot on the doll's hand and then put the leaf on it, and then you can have this scene where she's picking up and examining a leaf, or some, a stick or a feather or something. You just never know what you're going to come across that you will want. As far as other things, as far as tips for taking them out, if your primary goal is comfort and you're nervous about people seeing your doll, then I would say consider a mini one, get a deep bag, but a deep bag where you feel comfortable. If you have an emotional attachment to this doll and you've kind of assigned some like humanness to it, and you're going to feel like, I don't want you suffocated in a bag, then get a bag where you're not going to feel like that's the case, right? If you are taking a doll for photography purposes, and that's where I can give the most tips, because that's what, that's the reason that I take my dolls out. I would say maybe consider taking, depending if you're going out during like sunshiny time, maybe consider taking a pair of sunglasses. Sometimes when you're in a public place, you're trying to take a picture a little bit quickly because there are other people in that space and you're maybe waiting for them to move out of the way or whatever. And you don't always have enough time to really get the doll like situated and perfect. And sometimes our dolls don't want to look at the camera. So I feel like either just turning their head a little bit where they're looking elsewhere and taking your shots that way, or putting some like dark sunglasses on them might help you like not lose time trying to get them to look at the camera, and you can just take that shot a little more quickly. On that same note, I would say if your goal is taking them out in public for photography purposes, try to time things when wherever you're going is not going to be at its busiest. So when we went to the Titanic exhibit, for example, we went like early. We were waiting for them to open the exhibit because we wanted to be among the first in before any field trips got there, before any crowds got there, so that we wouldn't feel rushed and we could have time to line up our dolls on the grand staircase and take their pictures. And that really paid off. Like, a bunch of people showed up after that, but we were like, we already got our pictures, so we don't care. So I think that's something to consider. Consider taking a stand. I mostly use the American Girl, like of the stands that I have, I mostly use the American Girl or, Our Generation or whatever, where it's a square of wood and then the metal thing with the waist holder. But I have one where it's a round metal base and it's a lot lighter. I took a doll to the beach the other day and I knew I wanted to take a picture from far away and I didn't want to be worried about the doll falling. So I set the doll up on the stand and then kind of just wedged the base of the thing under the sand and covered it up. so you could not tell at all. And I was strategic in what outfit I picked so that you wouldn't be able to see that the doll was on a stand, but I was able to get several feet, like well out of arm's reach, without being stressed that the doll was going to fall over. So yeah, consider things like that. If you're going to be in an area where it's like, it might be windy outside, but you want to get kind of I want to be able to step back and not be stressed, consider taking a stand. And I would look for those kind that have the really thin, like a little metal base, and dress the doll strategically. You can try it out at home and make sure like this stand is not going to be visible in my pictures. So I'm sure if I tried, I can think of more tips for when you're taking your dolls out. But the other thing is just, you don't know those strangers. Do not worry about what they think. Do not worry. If anything, you are being such a positive example of, I am brave enough to do the thing that brings me joy, regardless of what anybody else who understands or doesn't understand may care to think or say to me. You will not have enough power over me to stop me from doing the thing that brings me joy, right? And that is a wonderful thing for yourself, but it's also a wonderful example for other people. So yeah, don't care about the strangers' opinions. Most of them will be positive, and the other ones, like, not your problem. Not your problem. Anyway, let me know in the comments, do you take your dolls out in public? What have been your experiences? Is it something that you're working up to? A lot of you comment that that's not something you're comfortable with yet. What baby steps are you taking? You know, kind of how are you mentally rehearsing and preparing? What could you see being your first public outing with them? I hope you're doing well. I hope this inspires you to take your doll out in public sometime this week, and I hope that you'll join me for my next video, which will be in just a few days. So tap the notification bell, subscribe, comment, give the video a like, feel free to share it, all those YouTubery things, but most of all, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.